I never imagined the day would come when my own flesh and blood would look me in the eye and demand I pay rent to live in a house I bought with my own money, a house I gave to him out of pure love. But that day came, and it shattered everything I thought I knew about family, loyalty, and the son I raised with my bare hands. Make sure you watch this video till the end, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Comment where you are watching from. So let's begin. My name is Victoria, and I'm 73 years old. For the past 50 years, I've been the backbone of my family, holding everyone together through thick and thin. My late husband Gerald and I worked our fingers to the bone to build something meaningful for our children. We scraped and saved every penny, went without luxuries, and made countless sacrifices so our kids could have a better life than we did. We had 3 children. My eldest, Benjamin, was always the responsible one. He became a doctor, married a lovely woman named Claire, and gave us 2 beautiful grandchildren. My youngest, Sophia, moved to California and became a teacher. She calls every week and visits during holidays. But then there's my middle child, Damien. Oh, Damien, the one who would change everything. Damien was always different. Not bad, different, just complicated. He was the artistic one, the dreamer. While his siblings focused on their studies, Damien spent his time painting, writing poetry, and talking about changing the world. Gerald and I supported his dreams, even when they didn't make financial sense. We paid for art school, helped him through his struggling years, and never once made him feel like a burden. When Damien turned 35, he was still living paycheck to paycheck as a freelance graphic designer. He'd been renting a tiny apartment in the city, barely making ends meet. My heart broke watching him struggle, especially after Gerald passed away 2 years earlier. I had inherited our family home, a beautiful 4-bedroom house in Maple Grove that Gerald and I had bought 40 years ago. It was our dream home, filled with memories of birthday parties, Christmas mornings, and family dinners. The house was too big for me alone, but I couldn't bear to sell it. Too many precious memories lived within those walls. That's when I made the decision that would haunt me forever. I decided to give the house to Damien, not sell it to him, not lend it to him, but give it to him completely. I wanted him to have stability, to build his own family there, to fill it with new memories and laughter. I remember the day I told him. We were sitting in the kitchen, the same kitchen where I taught him to make pancakes when he was 7 years old. The afternoon sun was streaming through the yellow curtains I'd sewn myself decades ago. Damien, honey, I said, reaching across the table to hold his hand. I've been thinking a lot about your future, about this house, about what your father would have wanted. He looked up from his coffee, those green eyes so much like Gerald's. What do you mean, Mom? I want to give you the house. Transfer the deed into your name. Make it yours completely. The silence that followed felt like an eternity. His eyes widened, and for a moment I saw my little boy again, the one who used to run to me with scraped knees and broken dreams. Mom, are you serious? You want to give me the house? Just like that. Just like that, I confirmed, squeezing his hand. You're struggling, sweetheart. I can see it, even though you try to hide it from me. This house has been in our family for 40 years. I want it to stay in the family. I want you to have a real home, something stable to build your life on. Tears filled his eyes, and he came around the table to hug me so tight I could barely breathe. Mom, I can't believe this. Thank you. Thank you so much. I promise I'll take care of it. I'll make you proud. That was 3 years ago. 3 years that feel like a lifetime now. The transfer went smoothly. My lawyer, Robert Henderson, handled all the paperwork. The house officially became Damien's property, free and clear. No mortgage, no liens, nothing. A gift worth $350,000, handed over with nothing but love and hope for his future. At first, everything seemed perfect. Damien moved in and started fixing up the place. He painted the exterior, replaced the old gutters, and even planted a small garden where Gerald used to grow tomatoes. I was so happy to see the house being cared for, being loved again. I moved into a small apartment across town, nothing fancy, but comfortable enough for my needs. Damien insisted I keep my key to the house and told me I was welcome anytime. "It's still your home too, Mom," he'd say. "You'll always have a place here." For the first year, our arrangement was beautiful. I'd visit twice a week. We'd have dinner together, and I'd help him with little projects around the house. He seemed happier, more stable. He even started dating a woman named Amber, a photographer who shared his artistic interests. But then things began to change. Subtle at first. So subtle I almost missed the warning signs. It started with small comments. "Mom, you know this is my house now, right?" he'd say when I'd suggest moving a piece of furniture or hanging a family photo. "I appreciate your input, but I need to make my own decisions about my space." I understood. Of course, he wanted to make the house his own. I tried to step back, to give him the independence he needed. But the comments became more frequent, more pointed. Then came the rules. "Mom, I think it would be better if you called before coming over. Sometimes Amber, and I need our privacy." Then it was, "Can you use the back door when you visit? We're trying to keep the front entrance looking perfect for guests." Each new boundary felt like a small knife to my heart, but I told myself this was normal. This was what happened when children became independent adults. I swallowed my hurt and tried to adapt. The real shock came 6 months ago. I had been helping Damien plan a small renovation of the master bathroom. We were sitting at the kitchen table looking at tile samples when he cleared his throat in that serious way that made my stomach clench. "Mom, we need to talk about something important." "Of course, honey. What's on your mind?" He wouldn't meet my eyes. Instead, he stared at the tile samples spread across the table. "I've been thinking about our arrangement, about you having unlimited access to the house." "What do you mean?" "Well, you're here a lot. Sometimes multiple times a week. Amber and I are trying to build our life together, and we need more privacy, more independence." My heart started racing. "Damien, I only come when you invite me or when you need help with something. I thought that's what families do." "I know, and I appreciate everything you've done. But the thing is, this is my house now, my home, and I think it would be better for everyone if we formalized our relationship a bit more." "Formalized? What does that mean?" He finally looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Something cold and calculating. "I think you should start paying rent if you want to continue spending so much time here." The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually gasped, my hand flying to my chest. "Rent? You want me to pay rent to visit the house I gave you?" "Not to visit, Mom, but you practically live here half the time. You have your own key, you come and go as you please, you store things in the guest bedroom. It's only fair that you contribute to the household expenses." I felt the world spinning around me. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be my son, the boy I'd raised, the man I'd sacrificed everything for, asking me to pay rent in my own former home. "Damien, I gave you this house. I signed over a $350,000 property to you for free. How can you ask me to pay rent?" His jaw tightened. "That was your choice, Mom. No one forced you to give me the house. But now it's mine, and I have the right to decide who lives here and under what conditions. I don't live here, Damien. I visit. I help you. I bring groceries and cook meals, and I appreciate that. But Appreciation doesn't pay the utility bills or the property taxes or the maintenance costs. If you want to continue having such open access to my home, then yes, I think $500 a month is reasonable. $500 a month. To visit the house I'd bought with my late husband's sweat and blood. To see the son I'd given everything to. I stood up so fast the chair nearly toppled over. I need to go. Mom, don't be dramatic. Think about it logically. You're here all the time, anyway. Why not make it official? I couldn't speak. If I opened my mouth, I was afraid I'd either scream or burst into tears. So I grabbed my purse and walked out of that house, my former house, our former home, and drove straight to my apartment, where I sobbed until I had no tears left. That night, I called my daughter Sophia in California. Through my tears, I told her everything that had happened. "Mom, that's horrible," she said, her voice shaking with anger. "I can't believe Damien would do that to you. After everything you've done for him, everything you've sacrificed. I don't know what I did wrong. Honey, I thought I was helping him, giving him security. You didn't do anything wrong. Damien is being selfish and ungrateful. Have you talked to Benjamin about this?" I hadn't. Benjamin was always so busy with his medical practice and his family. I didn't want to burden him with my problems. But Sophia insisted I call him. Benjamin's reaction was even stronger than Sophia's. "He wants you to pay rent. In the house you gave him, Mom. That's not just ungrateful, it's cruel. I just don't understand how he could change so much. He used to be such a sweet boy. Some people change when they get a taste of power, Mom. And ownership is power. Maybe giving him the house wasn't the blessing we thought it would be." Over the next few weeks, I tried to process what had happened. I barely slept, barely ate. Every time I thought about Damien's cold expression, when he demanded rent money, my heart broke a little more. He called several times, but I didn't answer. Finally, he showed up at my apartment. "Mom, you're being ridiculous. I'm trying to be fair here." "Fair?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You think charging your mother rent to visit the house she gave you is fair? Look, I've thought about it more. I'll reduce it to $300 a month. That's incredibly reasonable for someone who practically lives there." "I don't practically live there, Damien. I visited my son. Or at least I used to." "Fine. If you don't want to pay rent, then I think we need to establish some boundaries. You can visit once a week for no more than 3 hours, and you need to call ahead every time. Once a week, 3 hours, in the house where I'd raised him, where I'd nursed him through childhood illnesses, where I'd taught him to ride a bike, in the backyard. Get out," I whispered. "What?" "Get out of my apartment. Right now." "Mom, you're being unreasonable. Get out." I screamed, something I'd never done in my entire life. "Get out and don't come back until you remember who raised you and who gave you everything you have." He left, but not before giving me a look that chilled me to the bone. It was a look of pure contempt, as if I were nothing more than a bothersome stranger. That was 2 months ago. 2 months of silence. 2 months of wondering where I went wrong as a mother. 2 months of crying myself to sleep in my small, lonely apartment while my son lived in the beautiful home I'd given him out of love. But yesterday, everything changed. Yesterday, I realized I didn't have to be a victim of my own generosity. I was cleaning out some old boxes when I found the folder from the house transfer. All the legal documents, all the paperwork. I started reading through everything, remembering that day when I'd sat in Robert Henderson's office, signing away my home to secure my son's future. That's when I saw it. A clause I'd completely forgotten about. A clause that Robert had insisted on including, despite my protests at the time. "Victoria," he'd said, "I understand you want to give Damien this house outright, but I strongly recommend we include a specific provision. a clause that protects your interests. What kind of clause? A habitability and family access clause. It states that as the grantor of this property, you retain certain irrevocable rights. The right to visit, the right to use the property for family gatherings, and most importantly, the right to reclaim the property if it's not being used in the spirit of the family gift. I protested. Robert, I trust my son completely. I don't need protection from my own child. Victoria, I've been practicing law for 35 years. Family dynamics can change, especially when significant assets are involved. This clause protects both of you. It ensures the house remains a family home, not just Damien's personal property. I had reluctantly agreed, more to appease Robert than because I thought I'd ever need such protection. How wrong I was. The clause was written in legal language, but as I read it yesterday, its meaning became crystal clear. If Damien attempted to exclude me from the property or treat me as anything other than a family member with natural access rights, I could reclaim the house entirely. My hands were shaking as I picked up the phone and called Robert's office. Robert, it's Victoria Chin. I need to discuss the Henderson property transfer from 3 years ago. Of course, Victoria. How can I help you? I told him everything. Every painful detail of Damien's transformation, his demand for rent, his restrictions on my visits. Robert listened without interruption, and when I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Victoria, I'm sorry to hear about this situation, but I'm not entirely surprised. This is exactly why I insisted on that protection clause. Can I really reclaim the house? Based on what you've told me, absolutely. Damien has violated the spirit and the letter of the gift agreement. By treating you as a tenant rather than recognizing your family rights, he's breached the fundamental conditions under which the property was transferred. What do I need to do? Come in tomorrow morning. We'll draft a notice of violation and begin the reclamation process. Victoria, I want you to understand something. This isn't just about getting your house back. This is about holding your son accountable for his actions. I couldn't sleep that night. Part of me felt guilty for even considering taking back the house. But a larger part of me felt something I hadn't felt in months: power, control over my own life and my own generosity. This morning, I sat in Robert's office as he explained the process. We'll serve Damien with a notice of violation first. This gives him 30 days to correct his behavior and acknowledge your family rights to the property. If he refuses or continues to treat you as a tenant, we'll proceed with the full reclamation. And then what happens? Then the house reverts back to you completely. He'll have to vacate the property. The weight of those words settled over me like a blanket. My son, the child I'd raised and loved and sacrificed for, would be evicted from the house I'd given him. It felt like the ultimate betrayal. And yet, hadn't he betrayed me first? Robert, am I doing the right thing? He leaned back in his chair, his kind eyes studying my face. Victoria, you gave your son a gift worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. A gift given out of pure love and generosity. He responded by trying to charge you rent to visit your own former home. You tell me if you're doing the right thing. 2 hours later, I held the legal documents in my hands. The notice of violation, clearly stating that Damien had 30 days to restore my full family access rights to the property or face eviction proceedings. I drove to my house. I reminded myself with the papers beside me on the passenger seat. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The house looked beautiful. Damien had painted the shutters a lovely blue color, and Amber's flower garden was in full bloom. For a moment, I felt a pang of sadness. This could have been so different. We could have been a happy family, sharing this beautiful home and creating new memories together. I knocked on the front door, the door I'd been told to stop using months ago. Damien answered, and his expression immediately soured when he saw me. Mom, what are you doing here? I thought we agreed you'd call first. We didn't agree to anything, Damien. You made demands, and I left. Look, if you're here to argue about the rent situation again, I don't have time. Amber and I are having people over tonight. People over? In the house I gave you. My house, Mom. We've been through this. I took a deep breath and pulled the legal documents from my purse. Actually, we haven't been through this. Not completely. I handed him the papers. You have 30 days. He unfolded the documents, his eyes scanning the legal language. I watched his face change from annoyance to confusion to shock to pure rage. What the hell is this? You're trying to take back the house. I'm not trying to do anything, Damien. I'm doing it. You violated the terms of the gift agreement when you decided to treat your mother like a paying tenant. This is insane. You can't just take back a gift. Actually, I can, when the recipient of that gift violates the fundamental spirit in which it was given, the gift becomes null and void. Amber appeared behind him, clearly having heard the raised voices. What's going on? My mother is trying to steal our house, Damien said, his voice shaking with anger. I'm not stealing anything. I'm reclaiming what's mine after you decided to charge me rent to visit. Amber's eyes widened. Wait, you were going to charge your mom rent. It's complicated, Damien said quickly. She was here all the time, treating it like she still owned the place. Because I gave it to you. I shouted, finally losing the composure I'd been fighting to maintain. I gave you a $350,000 house out of love, and you repaid me by trying to turn me into your tenant. You gave me the house, Mom. That means it's mine now. I get to decide the rules. No, Damien, you got to decide whether you'd honor the gift or abuse it. You chose to abuse it. Now you have to face the consequences. I turned to leave, but his voice stopped me. If you do this, if you actually try to take back the house, you'll never see me again. I mean it, Mom. You'll lose your son forever. I turned back to face him. This stranger, who looked like my child but had the heart of someone I didn't recognize. I lost my son the day he looked me in the eye and demanded rent money to visit the home I'd given him out of love. The day he stopped seeing me as his mother and started seeing me as a source of income. Mom, please, don't do this. We can work something out. We could have worked something out 2 months ago, but you were too busy calculating how much money you could extract from your own mother to consider compromise. I walked to my car, my legs somehow managing to carry me despite feeling like they might give out at any moment. Behind me, I could hear Damien and Amber arguing, her voice rising as she apparently learned more details about his plan to charge me rent. That was this morning. Now, as I sit in my apartment writing this story, I'm waiting to see what choice my son will make. Will he humble himself and restore my rights as his mother and the person who gave him everything? Or will he let his pride and greed cost him the house and potentially our relationship forever? I keep thinking about something my mother used to say, never mistake kindness for weakness. I was kind to Damien his entire life. I supported his dreams, forgave his mistakes, and literally gave him the roof over his head. He mistook that kindness for weakness, assuming I'd accept any treatment because I loved him too much to fight back. But here's what Damien never understood about me, about the woman who raised him. I didn't survive 73 years, didn't build a life from nothing, didn't raise 3 children and bury a husband by being weak. I survived by being strong when I needed to be, by standing up for myself when no one else would. My phone has been ringing all day. Damien calling over and over, leaving increasingly desperate voicemails. I haven't answered. There's nothing left to say until he makes his choice. Benjamin called this afternoon. Apparently, Damien had reached out to him, crying and begging him to intervene. Mom, is it true? Are you really taking back the house? I'm giving him a chance to fix what he broke. Honey, if he refuses, then yes, I'm taking it back. Good, Benjamin said firmly. What he did to you was unforgivable. No child should treat their parents that way, especially after such incredible generosity. Sophia called an hour later with the same news. Damien had called her too, painting himself as the victim of my sudden vindictiveness. I told him exactly what I thought of his behavior. Sophia said, "Mom, I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. You taught us to treat people with respect and dignity. It's time Damien remembered that lesson." As I sit here tonight, looking at the calendar and counting down Damien's 30 days, I realize something important. This isn't just about the house anymore. This is about respect, dignity, and the fundamental bonds that should exist between a parent and child. I gave Damien that house because I loved him, because I wanted him to have security and stability, because I believed in him and his future. He took that gift and tried to turn it into a business transaction, with me as his customer. But you know what? I'm not his customer. I'm his mother, the woman who gave him life, who raised him, who sacrificed everything for his happiness and success. And if he can't remember that, if he can't honor that, then maybe he doesn't deserve the house after all. Maybe he doesn't deserve me. Tomorrow marks day 2 of his 30-day notice. 28 days left for him to choose between his pride and his family. 28 days to decide what matters more, the power he thinks he has over me or the relationship that gave him everything he has in the first place. I know what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping my son will come to his senses, will remember the love that built the foundation of his life, will choose family over money and respect over control. But I also know what I'll do if he doesn't. I'll take back my house, and I'll move on with my life. Because at 73 years old, I've learned that you can't force someone to love you the way you deserve to be loved. You can only decide whether you'll allow them to treat you with disrespect. And I won't. Not anymore. Not ever again. The phone is ringing now. It's Damien again. The caller ID shows his name. And for a moment, I feel that familiar pull of maternal love, the urge to answer and comfort my child. But then I remember his face when he demanded rent money. I remember the coldness in his eyes when he told me I could only visit once a week for 3 hours. I remember feeling like a stranger in the home where I'd raised him. I let it go to voicemail. 28 days. Damien, the choice is yours. But here's the thing about choices. They have consequences. And after a lifetime of protecting you from the consequences of your actions, it's time you learned that lesson for yourself. The phone stops ringing. The apartment falls silent. And I sit here waiting to see what kind of man I actually raised. Because in 28 days, I'll know for certain whether my son is the grateful, loving child I thought I'd given everything to, or whether he's the stranger who tried to charge his own mother rent to visit the house she'd given him out of pure love. Either way, I'll be fine, because I've learned something important about myself through all of this. I've learned that I'm stronger than I thought, braver than I believed, and more worthy of respect than I'd been allowing myself to be treated. The house will be mine again, or my son will remember how to be my son again. But my dignity, my self-respect, those are mine right now, and no one can take them away from me ever again. Not even the child I loved enough to give him everything. 28 days and counting. And for the first time in months, I'm not afraid of what comes next. I'm ready for it. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.